slash giant ice pillar that's sticking out sideways. That's probably what most of the action is going to take place on this map, but maybe we'll be completely surprised. And, well, we'll get to the game. Let's get a quick run down of ships here on the Kamikaze Punk, captained by Tropo. We've got Hades Artemis front, and Artemis flare gun on the side. And on the Wham Kabams, we've got a Mercury up front, Hades, and Artemis on the downstairs, and Artemis flare gun wings.
And on the blue team, we have the U, the Imagine. It is a Mercury Artemis Pyramidion with the left side Artemis Gatling. And on the Me, aka the Urz, we have the left side Mercury Field Gun, Heavy Flak Lumberjack, right side Hwacha, Heavy Carronade with a flare gun leading up the rear.
Yep, so now I will say it's a little bit interesting to see it be a lumberjack and a flak. You often see double lumberjack instead. That flak can be a little hard to shoot, and you have to time it extremely well. But we are getting a large amount of fire going on already as the Wham Kabam and the Kamikaze Punk basically were both spotted immediately, and a lot of shots going on, but it gets pretty hard to hit a Mobula at this distance. It's really a slim ship. If you can connect, it's great, but oh, and as I say that, the armor does go down. Of course, it's probably from the Mercury, from the Me, from the Imagine, and the Wham Kabam is gonna be just fine. However, they get their armor repaired. No real huge permanent amount of damage being done so far.
Yeah, great merc shots going in. Although, as you said, the slim hull profile of the Mobula, you see a lot of those shots not actually hitting the whole armor, instead going through the balloon, hitting engines, hitting guns, but not that all-important whole armor that you need to take down to do actual damage to the ship. But now the Wham Kablam's actually deciding that, okay, this engagement is not going in their favor.
Yep.
Maybe they should
now
find another spot.
I will say that the lumberjacks are extremely effective against Marvelous, but Marbula, or it's harder to hit with the lumberjack. You have to, if you can get some nice steady connections, like a good 3 to 4, maybe full clip of shots of a lumberjack into a Marbula, it will absolutely wreck its day. But once again, not the easiest ship to hit, especially at the distances that this firing is going on at. So we are having Sacrilege reposition themselves here. They're getting back around that Kenny Mountain area very much.
Do you know
what I
if
expected
a
there.
lumberjack hits the top of the hull of a Mobula, will it also hit the balloon with the splash damage?
I think so. I think that's why it's that effective. I can't say for certain because it's not a combination that you see quite a lot where you get lumberjacks hitting Mobulas, but I believe it does.
Oh man, Imagine on the move.
I am moving my camera around, yes. That was a joke. Nobody's gonna get that. We're gonna move on. That was, yes, Imagine. Okay, we're good. All right. Imagine rising up here. Pyramidion getting himself some altitude. Now, what do you think about the Merc choice on the Imagine instead of the Hades? We see that Hades art paired up a lot. You don't often see a Mercury Artemis combination.
Yeah, it's interesting actually. The Merc Artemis used to be pretty popular before the Hades sort of came into prominence, I guess. More people, even for a couple months after the Hades was introduced, I guess players just took a little while to sort of become accustomed to the weapon due to its unique kind of arcing projectile. But as for the decision between the Mercury and the Hades, I think the Mercury is better in these sniper versus sniper engagements just because it has so much more range on it. You have so many more options. If you are inside the Mercury range but outside the Hades range, that means the other team has to approach you. and you always want the other team approaching you in a having to approach you in a sniper versus sniper war, because then you get to sit still and give your gunners the most stability, to help with their accuracy and such.
Absolutely. Of course, it is a little bit trickier to aim around with a Mercury just because it basically has no up and down movement at all. And here we go. We're getting some shots connecting onto the Urz, doing about half the hull damage so far, but next set of Hades, a couple of those shots hit, but most of them miss. Although there are some Artemis shots, it looks like that's actually connecting now from the Wham Kabam. So uh, Gallon's got to be a little bit careful. One of the guns is out. It looks like the Mercury up top actually got taken out there.
Yeah, so
And
as you sort of added at the end there, the other side of that decision is that the Hades is much better at a medium to close range, and if they're because you can come in a higher altitude, and the limited Mercury field gun arcs will not be able to shoot up, but your Hades will be able to shoot down. So at the closer ranges, it does give you the Hades gives you a little bit of an advantage. As Kamikaze Punk gets its armor taken out,
a lot of damage actually onto the Kamikaze Pump. All of a sudden, I was watching the shooting coming from the Urz instead, and Imagine has actually come up all the way on the side now, and is going to try to take some side swipes at the Wemkabams, and Kamikaze Punk hurting quite a bit. Balloon had gotten taken out here. Those lumberjack shots had been connecting, but now the Urz is actually just wildfiring in here. No spots down right now, so they're just kind of guessing at this point, and Kamikaze Punk had drifted fairly far down as the balloon had gotten taken out, so none of those follow shots connecting. But still, we got our first permanent hull damage of the match, and it does go onto the Kamikaze Punk. So CakeWatch so far definitely getting the better end of this deal.
yeah, and I like what the Imagine is doing here. They're constantly on the move, finding new spots to fire from, so that the Sacrilege team does not know where they are. They don't know also don't know where to shoot at them, and also do not know where the fire is coming from, which influences how they position themselves relative to the terrain, so that it would block their shots. It keeps them guessing, which is something we don't see that often.
Absolutely, and CakeWatch will have to be careful. However, if one of these ships gets caught out by itself, it will be a lot of pain. If those if they're a little bit too close and by themselves, both of these Sacrilege ships can really turn and absolutely wreak a lot of havoc with those Hades, with those Artemis, and with the supporting Mercury on the Wham Kabam. If any of these Cakewatch ships get even remotely out of position here, it can really go sour for them. But
Yeah, a
looks
lot
like
of
we're gonna have a little
flares.
bit of friendly standoff here.
Yeah, several flares
Absolutely.
kind of coming out into the center of the map, not far enough to actually illuminate any of the ships. So both teams kind of in the dark here. And I think that's also probably one of the reasons Imagine's being so mobile here is because he's just trying to figure out where the other team is, trying to get some spots for his ally.
Absolutely. The lumberjack heavy flat combination can shoot at extreme distances. I think the only thing that is Mercury the longest range gun.
Ooh, I
You know,
think so. I mean, the
I
only
I
other
don't know
one
if the
in
lumberjack can outrange it if it's got Lesmach.
yeah. Yeah, the Lumberjack with Lesmach might be able to outrange Mercury without Lesmach, but I'm not
Possible.
positive.
Well, regardless, the point is that that galleon has basically the longest range guns in the game, and they're definitely gonna want to sit back. I really think that this might be up to Sacrilege to make a move. Maybe try to go around the backside of the mountain. If they can close any sort of distance, that Cakewatch team is going to be in a bit of trouble. With the sacrificing the either a Hades or even a Gatling mortar type on the Imagine. Going for that Mercury is going to limit range or their Not really. Sorry, not going to limit their range because they can't that long range. What I'm saying is that if you get in a closer range fight, that Pyramid Island is not going to be as effective.
That's absolutely true. And if we get
I
into a
mean,
close range fight, it will really test the piloting ability of that galleon pilot because, um, I mean, if that's really one of the deciding factors is because that galleon has so much firepower on the right side with a watch a heavy carronade, but you need to be able to because it's so slow, it's so clunky. You need perfect piloting to get those guns into arc. And a single volley from two heavy weapons at close range can end the game. But we
Wemkeman found a little lane to fire there. Got some shots up onto the Urz, but rose back up as soon as the Merc fire started coming back in. So, just a little few pot shots, few love taps coming back and forth. Kamikaze Puck now spotted, but both of these Sacrilege ships fairly well beyond the arch. Maybe a few hits will come in, but really no large amounts of damage is going to be expected. Although if the Kamikaze Punk keeps on coming out here while he's spotted, that'll definitely change what I'm saying. Will back on up, lose his spot. Imagine still has its spot on. Probably lose in just a little bit as well. We'll go back to the standoff that we've been having, although is he using the side Artemis now, or is he just maneuvering around? I think it just must be... Okay. Got a little bit confused there why you would just go with the side Artemis and not the front
there actually is
Mercury Artemis.
somebody. Well, there's a crewman on that ship sporadically checking that side Artemis see if he can get any shots, but none
Yeah,
actually
but
being fired.
the point was it turned that way because he's moving,
Yes.
not for really any other reason. All right, imagine that once again coming over to the side over here, gonna get an angle onto both the Kamikaze Punk and the Wemkabam. Will be able to lay down some shots. So far missing these, and all of it's really done is give away his location. And continues to miss. Come on, CakeWatch. If you're gonna name your ship after me, at least be able to connect with your shots. You can do this. Oh, Kamikaze Punk actually coming around on the side here, and this is what I was talking about. They are going to try to catch the Imagine out here by himself. And Imagine isn't really in a good place, but is going to back through that arch, realizing that the shots he was taking, just all it really did was give away their location and not really do any damage. Wants to get out of there before any catastrophic damage happens to himself, and that is a good move. Now, Kamikaze Punk, on the other hand, has come up and is... Both of these red ships have a really good angle on the Urz here, and the Urz is just starting to get peppered. Urz, you're in a little bit of trouble here.
Yeah, at the same time, I feel like Imagine's not really holding up his side of the bargain. No, I kid. But what I would have liked to see there is if maybe the Imagine had theirs has a clear line, a clear
Wamkabim
sniper.
actually loses his armor there due to a single fire stack, or maybe just a couple of fire stacks. And here we go. We got some nice little action going on here. As the Imagine and Kamikaze Punk are going at it now, and Webcam and the Urz will probably start exchanging shots unless the Urz now decides to turn towards the Kamikaze Punk, and he should be at least. I don't know why you haven't turned on the Kamikaze Punk yet.
Yeah, so when you were
I've
talking
lost a
about
little
the
bit of haul here.
kamikaze, when you were talking about the kamikaze Punk sort of moving forward, trying to find the Imagine. If the Imagine had gotten a good spot there, Kamikaze Punk would have been kind of out in the open. The Urz had you see now, he has a clear sniper line to the Red Pyramidion, so Kamikaze Punk in a little bit of trouble here, and it looks like he will seek cover behind these southern mountain range.
Yep. Now the Imagine moves forward a little bit. We'll most likely try to get behind this arch as well to avoid that incoming fire from the Wham-Kabam. One thing I have to note right now, is from what I've seen so far, is that there's been a lot of Hades shots that have gotten basically no hits. You've seen a lot of those fireballs just go flying past ships. Maybe, couple 2 to 3 will hit, but if you're not hitting regularly with at least 3/4 of that Hades clip, it's gonna be very hard to make that gun be effective for you.
Yeah, that is very true, and one of the reasons that Mercury field gun just gives you such an advantage in gunning accuracy at these distances because it's such a faster projectile with less drop to it. And imagine now
Absolutely.
repositioning again.
Kamikaze Punk and the Urz are firing off at each other. Urz taking a few actual shots. Kamikaze Punk now spotted, but those shots from CakeWatch are going pretty wild as well. Couple of hit now, but I think those more may have been from the Imagine instead. So, been a lot of fire, but not as many connections as you would like to see, and that's pretty much been the story of the game so far. Is both these teams have had their chances and just haven't really been
Oh,
able to connect. But
we've
of
got
course,
some
as I
nice
say that,
shots coming
Kamikaze Punk
in from the Urz. Those lumberjack shots just taking out the
finally
balloon.
connecting. There you go. Taking out that balloon, but it's actually going to help the Kamikaze Punk move out of the firing arc there. And as I said before, the Northern Fjords has such a long way to fall, so just knocking out a balloon isn't going to do too much damage. You really need to be able to keep following up your shots with that. But now imagine taking some amount of fire here. A few of those Hades Artemis shots were connecting. He's going to slink down below the arch, move on around, lose his spot. Wham should probably know where he is in general. Yep, there goes another flare. Good flare there. Gets spotted once again, and Imagine's gotta be a little bit careful here. He's getting into a distance where he doesn't really want to be. Wants to be a lot more further out, outranging with that Mercury that he's got up front. All right, Kamikaze Punk looks like he's gonna go all the way around, so they are gonna try. Sacrilege is gonna try a little bit of flank maneuver here. We'll see if it works out. And which of these ships do you think they'll go after?
It has to
Well,
be the Imagine. They want to
yeah, looks
target
like it.
what's going to get them the quickest kill, and the Pyramidion is going to be the much easier target.
Yeah, Kamikaze already shooting off at the Imagine.
Oh no, Imagine
is
right into the rock.
hidden.
What are you doing, Imagine?
I'm taking on a lot of hydrogen is what I'm doing, and now I'm eating some chicken foot there. But oh no, this is actually a really bad position. Oh, a lot of armor being lost, and those shots finally connecting from Sacrilege, and that is just too much damage coming in. Balloon lost, armor barely getting back up. Can't Imagine survive this. I'm not too sure. Urz, in the meantime, is just leaving me out to hang and is trying to move all the way around to the Wham Kabam. Imagine scrambling here to try to keep himself alive. Loses spot, which is actually might be exactly what he needed there. Kamikaze Punk trying to lower himself down here, but now backing up. However, Urz has come around behind the Wham Kabam. Is he using long range or short range side?
He's using
Still
his
using
long
that
range
long
side.
range.
Interesting. Also, they're still using Lesmok ammo as well.
Yeah, you probably want to change it to at least that greased rounds down over here. It's close enough range. Wham Kabam has lost his balloon and is getting dangerously close to the ground there. Don't want to hit. There we go. There we go. Barely just before he scrapes the bottom. Comes back up. Kamikaze Punk still going after Imagine over here. And armor is down on the Imagine. Will this be the first kill as that armor is down? But the follow shots just not quite there. Imagine gets his armor back up. Now the Wham Kabam losing armor and balloon and banging against a rock here. And uh-oh, this is a terrible position for this Mobula. Starting to scrape down on the ground. Still no balloon. Barely any armor left. He come back up. He has gotten a little bit of a position here to not take fire from the Urz anymore.
Ever seen a ship there?
Yeah, it's.
I can't even bring my camera.
Yeah, I know. I can't actually move my camera out there either. All right, let's see. Imagine and Kamikaze Punk still going at it here. Imagine finally returning some of this fire onto the Kamikaze Punk, but Imagine still taking that longer or bigger damage. And this is what I said. Once you get into these ranges, that Hades is going to be so much more effective against that Mercury, and those shots come raining on in. Imagine will maybe no. Oh my God, they get the armor repaired. Oh, thank you, CakeWatch, for not making me the first loser. But now it turns sideways. I'm not entirely sure why he's doing that,
And
and it does go down.
I don't know why the
Ah.
Imagine was trying to fight there. I mean, Kamikaze Punk has such advantageous gun arcs against the Mercury Artemis. Like I think the
Yeah,
better
back up.
play would have been
You
just
can
to
keep
just to
firing.
leave.
Just back up. Or go up and down. Do something. Do anything. And now Urz is caught in the red side, still trying to take the Wham Kabam down. But Kamikaze Punk should be able to come around the side here, and Urz is going to be stuck here by himself in enemy
So
territory.
interesting to know when I use the ship camera view here on the Wham Kablams and I switch to the free view, it like forces me out, like
Yeah.
back into the map. It's kind of funny.
All right. Oh, Wham Kabam armor is down. Will he take final points of damage?
It
Not
looks
quite,
like
as
the
now the
Urz is
Urz.
switching to the
Yeah, he has to
Kamikaze.
switch to the Kamikaze Punk, and we'll see if Urz can hold out long enough. Imagine has come back into the fray here, using that long range to provide at least some sort of support fire for the Urz, and Urz is just trying to book it on out of here, but losing engines to those Artemis. Gonna continue taking shots, and Urz was just not quite able to take down the Wham Kabam here. Probably, well, can't quite say. Should be able to escape from the single ship.
I mean, it is a galleon, so galleons do take a lot to actually kill.
Armor is down.
And now he's successfully screened the shots from the Wham Kablam, so he should be alright here as the Imagine comes back in and puts some fire onto the Kamikaze Punk, forcing him to back off.
And Urz should start firing as well. There you go. Those little Merc shots gonna come in onto the Kamikaze Punk. Kamikaze Punk. Oh, the Wham Kabam came way back up here. That's
Wham
extremely
Kablams,
quickly, and he's just
you've got to be in the back.
coming
You're
right around.
so heavily damaged.
Yeah, he should be behind the Kamikaze Punk or something, not out here as far as he is. You know, at this point, I would almost say that the Urz should just flip himself and get in there with that Carronade
Wait,
Hwacha.
you should do what?
Flip himself to the other side.
Oh, I see.
And start using maybe that a little bit of that shorter range. I don't know, maybe take a few more shots with longer range. I really think that a lot of captains kind of underutilize the ability of galleons to do that sort of stuff. Anyway, Imagine taking a lot of heat here, flying way too low in my opinion for the setup he's got. It should be a little bit higher to be able to fire off with that Merc at better angles, but still getting some nice connects onto Wham Kabam, taking a few Hades shots in return. But the Wham Kabam has lost balloon now. It's gonna start falling down. Imagine being on the same plane as the Wham Kabam, continuing to shoot off those Mercs. Oh, there goes that armor. Any shot. Come on. Yeah, Imagine. Do it. Oh, does not get it done. Kamikaze Punk losing his balloon now as well. Floating down. Might actually get stuck on the Candy Mountain here. Got to be a little bit careful there. Takes a little bit of bounce, but nothing too major. Loses his balloon once again. Full attention has been turned to the Wham Kabam. Wham Kabam desperately trying to book it on out of here and might just be able to do so. One shot connects, but the rest are gonna go fly wildly. And the story of this game so far, I really feel like has just been missed shots. Kamikaze Punk losing balloon. Kind of fire somewhat back at her as a few of those Hades connects. Kamikaze Punk losing armor and does go down. There you go. Shots connecting finally from the Urz. Takes down Kamikaze Punk, and now Wham Kabam is sitting here by himself at extremely low health, trying to get on out of here, but it's gonna take a bounce off the pillar and getting it stuck against here, losing all momentum, trying to maybe hydro on up, and does a decent job of it. Basically, any shot there would have finished off the Wham Kabam. Now, let's see. Where does the other red ship spawn? Spawns back all the way in their spawn section. Is not going to try to do some of those weird spawn choices that we've seen in the past few weeks where they just kind of spawn right under the enemy ships.
Yeah, that like swimming pool spawn point is one of the most perilous, and I'm not sure we've ever seen it work out for the team that utilizes it. Yes, using the safe spawn, spawning back with his ally. Um, yeah, they've got to be careful because either one of these teams, a single team wipe will give the opponent enough points to send the game into overtime and to actually get a win. So yeah, both teams have to be very careful. And the Wham Kablams with such low health, if the Wham Kablams goes down, if CakeWatch decides to target him, then Kamikaze Punk will be all on their own, and it might get into a situation where blue team just starts stacking up the points, stacking up the kills.
Absolutely. All right, now Imagine Kamikaze Punk has actually come way onto the Imagine over here. They've got to be Kamikaze Punk has got to be careful. Doesn't want to go too far in, of course, because that Hades is going to be non-effective at very close ranges, while the both the Merc and the Artemis are still effective at close range. Imagine going to be back in on up here. Let's see, what are you doing, Urz? Urz, you are moving around to the other side of the Kamikaze Punk, and Kamikaze Punk lost Balloon already. We're gonna move on fourth, and both follow Imagine and
And look
try
at
to
Urz
avoid the
go!
fire from the Urz.
Going with the Metal Gear Solid up in here, getting behind the Kamikaze Punk, and potentially going to be able to get some of the close range weapons onto the Wham Kablams.
Yeah,
Although
unfortunately,
not
you do have to be careful about the Wham Kabam over there. And Imagine actually charging fourth onto the Kamikaze Punk now, closing that distance really quickly, going in for a ram there. Actually, all it really does is just bounces Kamikaze Punk up. Oh, this is a little
Interesting
bit
that
of
the
an
Imagine
interesting choice
is,
here.
yeah, Imagine staying to keep the engagement Kamikaze Punk going rather than continuing his charge towards the Wham Kablams and maybe getting a 2v1.
Yep, keeping the Kamikaze Punk occupied here. They are definitely within close range enough to where that Hades really isn't going to do anything. So it's only that Artemis that's going to do
Imagine's
much
about
damage.
to lose its balloon though.
Yeah, that something you definitely want to try to avoid here. In the meantime, the Urz and the Wham Kabam still eyeing each other, but that giant pillar is in between them currently, so neither can really connect with any shots. Imagine still going after, and I don't, God, somebody fix that balloon, please, because that is precariously low here.
I think they are,
Finally
but it
looks like
just
a few hits coming on.
keeps getting picked away. Picking away at those pipe wrench hits.
Quite possibly.
All right, looks like the
Yes.
Kamikaze Punk has now decided he's going to go assist the Wham Kablams.
Oh, Wham Kabam
But it might
has
be
lost
too
all of
late.
its armor and balloon, but is using that. Oh, it looks like he was actually using shoot vent, not drogue shoot. I thought there was drogue shoot there for a second, but there was actually shoot vent. Let's see, Urz now taking the damage from Kamikaze Punk as he's just kind of sitting on out of here. Kamikaze Punk taking shots from behind as well, so both Kamikaze Punk and Urz have got to be careful here. Kamikaze Punk still trying to getting on that galleon. Watch the shots coming onto the Kamikaze Punk now. Finally, that short range coming into play here as Urz still rising. Wham Kabam taking those shots off at the Urz, and Urz has actually lost armor and a lot of permanent hull there, and oh my god, Urz so close to getting taken down. If the Kamikaze Punk had been able to turn around and maybe fire a couple of Artemis shots, that could have gone definitely in Red's way, but oh, Urz continuing to take that permanent damage there. Barely managed to get armor back up before it goes down. Wham Kabam loses balloon once more. And now these four ships splitting off into 1v1s. Again, Urz losing his balloon. Kamikaze Punk very low armor.
Imagine being very aggressive here with the continuing rams, and actually now utilizing the side guns, that Gatling gun, for the armor stripping.
Yeah, armor is down, but no real shots to follow it up. And now Wham Kabam is actually going to turn on Imagine as well. And let's see if Urz can take advantage of this to go after Wham Kabam. Imagine definitely getting double teamed here. Armor went down really quickly. Imagine.
Well, Kamikaze Punk isn't really
now
in this fight right now. They're just kind of trying to stay
Oh,
alive.
watch it. Imagine, watch it. Don't. Oh, don't. Oh, back up. back up. Oh, takes a bounce. Lost a couple of engines there. Possibly from chicken footing, also possibly just from getting hit from behind. Wham kabam. Trying to get an angle onto Imagine, but it looks like, oh my god, heavy flak just obliterated that Pyramidion there. Holy moly. That is the power of heavy flaks, gentlemen.
So
That armor went down and heavy flak connected.
one thing we saw a little bit during that engagement, most of the time it seemed like CakeWatch had the upper hand, but when the Wham Kablams got a few moments to actually focus on a ship, to actually get all their guns going, the damage output from that red Mobula was pretty significant. But unfortunately, I don't think he's going to get another moment of reprieve to set up some shots like that, as both these blue ships kind of gunning down on him, and that's
Oh,
going
the
to be the
webcam
third
goes
kill.
down. Yep, that's the third kill, so we are not going to have a tie in this match. That Wham Kabam got stuck on that rock there, actually, and just a little bit of dragging, and it's really all that Urz needed to finish off the Wham Kabam. Kamikaze Punk basically started right next to Urz here, gets a few of those nice shots off. Urz barely managed to rebuild Hall, and what is Imagine doing is way, way off here, now finally getting back into this fight. Urz still taking a lot of damage here. This game's not over still. 3 kills are 3 kills. It's a good number to get, but 5 is a number you want to win with. And now Urz and Kamikaze Punk going at each other, and Urz is actually getting double teamed here.
Imagine's got to
Not
be
quite sure
very
if he's going to be able
careful.
to survive.
If the Urz goes down here, Imagine will probably be soon to follow, and that will tie up the score.
And
Yeah.
Urz does go down. That focus fire, so brutal. They're within that range that I was talking about earlier in the match, where
Run Imagine.
yeah, and I'm not sure if Imagine's going to be able to get out of here. He's trying to back up as fast as he can. Maybe if he can get out of the Wham Kabam's arcs, but this is going to be very, very painful here. Doing a fairly good job of vertical movement currently, though. Just stop firing. All you're doing is giving away where you are. You're not gonna be able to do too much against this.
It looks like he
Layers
will.
going down all over the place.
He will get away safely, however.
Yep, using that kerosene to back on up. So, good job of movement there. Yep, we just hit overtime. So we are going to, as a quick overtime rules, if no armor goes down in 2 minutes, the game will end, and whoever has the most kills will win at that point. But every time a hull goes down, I believe we extend it 2 more minutes, and there goes one as the Kamikaze Punk getting taken down there. And large amounts of damage coming in. Any heavy flak shots would have connected. That ship would have been down. Does not do so, and we are going to get into a little bit more of a furious action here as these two teams just want to go at it, especially Sacrilege. They are currently down. If this overtime ends, they will, in fact, lose this match. CakeWatch would go up 1-0, but they are definitely focusing on the Urz there.
I mean, it's hard not to focus on Urz. I mean, he's,
such a fat butt sticking out in the middle of the clouds there. Such a large side to be able to hit.
But nice Hades fire coming in from Sacrilege.
Yeah, finally connecting on
down the armor.
Imagine taking some shots as well.
Yeah, Imagine's kind of moving forward. I think he's just trying to find some type of spots to help his ally, because, I mean, that blind firing with those lumberjacks and with the heavy flak, that's a really difficult thing to do, and those spots are going to be so important for both the teams here.
Urz lost his armor there for just a second, so once again timer was reset. But at this point, Overwatch can really just play very, very defensively, just make sure they got that cover, and it's really on Sacrilege to push the issue here, and they're kind of just sitting back. Kamikaze Punk gets his armor taken out, and all those heavy flak shots, just if any of them connect there, it's just immediate death, but not able to do so. Kamikaze Punk still backing on up. This game just keeps on getting extended in this overtime. Balloon on the Punk almost going down there. And the Sacrilege team is just kind of backing up at this point. Oh, shots connecting on the Kamikaze Punk. Armor down, and a Balloon down as well. And that heavy flak shot hits right in the front, but not quite enough damage to take him out there.
Man,
Kamikaze Punk
I love
taking a
watching
lot of
those
damage.
heavy flak shots just streak across the map, almost in slow motion and flashing.
Yeah.
It's like a giant firework.
It's coming, it's coming, it's coming, and oh, it doesn't quite hit. But that's generally the story of heavy flags. Now Wham Kabam taking that balloon damage. Kamikaze Punk almost lost armor there once more. Imagine and Urz still going at it. Armor down once again. Balloon still down on the Wham Kabam. Kamikaze Punk gets himself rebuilt. Urz not really in a good position to fire currently, and is going to move back on around here as Kamikaze Punk keeps on taking that Mercury fire from the Imagine, and armor not quite down yet, and still not down. I actually thought that would get it down right there. Maybe Mallet hit right before it. Kamikaze Punk lowering himself to get out of the arc of fire here. Wham Kabam still staying up above as he's got basically full repairs on everything currently.
And Sacrilege needs to make something here, because at this point they have a limited time to get at least one kill to force the tie. I think that's what the Kamikaze Punk is doing here, is just trying to sidle on over and find a closer range position where he can get more consistent Hades fire.
Yep, and he is going to rise on up here. Wham Kabam in the meantime lost his balloon, and both these CakeWatch ships will have to probably turn around here and start focusing on the Kamikaze Punk as the Urz does taking a large amount of damage there. Unfortunately, it's hard to take down a Galleon just by yourself that quickly, so without the dual fire from Sacrilege, it's going to be quite hard to kill off that Galleon. Just a solo ship now going to hydrogen on up here, and I imagine it's taking some damage too. And we've had a lot of hull destruct so far, so overtime keeps on being extended here. That's why we're still going. And Kamikaze Punk loses his balloon and goes down through the fire. Now it's going to be extremely hard for Sacrilege to come back here. They will need at least 2 kills to get a tie out of this, and they have what, like 2 minutes to do so currently?
No, they have about 5 minutes, as long
Oh, they have
as,
5.
assuming the whole armor keeps going down. Overtime will extend to a maximum of 10 minutes.
Okay, Urz taking more, a little bit of permanent damage chipping there. Wham Kabam lost balloon once again. And Kamikaze Punk kind of respawned over by Candy Mountain, is going to move on fourth. Wham Kabam losing armor and balloon, still going to drop down and get his repairs on up. Barely just before hitting that rock. And so far, good job here in overtime by CakeWatch, just deflecting and swatting away Sacrilege's approach. And Kamikaze Punk had actually taken a lot of damage before that fight, so was already suffering quite a bit. But now moving on fourth.
Yeah, both
Skirting
red
around the
ships are
arch.
mobilizing, so it looks like they're trying to set up some type of coordinated strike here and get a quick kill. But the shots,
And it looks like
those
their
Hades
focus
shots
is
are
still
not
on
doing
Urz.
it.
Yep. It's been a lot of the Hades story this game. A few of those connect there, but you see a lot of those go underneath, and they're asking how much overtime is left, Urz, if you can let them know about that, as Wham Kabam now taking more permanent damage. Armor and balloon down once again. Those lumberjack shots going to work. And here we go, Kamikaze Punk now shooting into the side of that Urz, getting a full barrage of Hades there. That's what you need to do with those Hades. Continual fire coming from the Wham Kabam as well, and the Urz is in a bit of trouble here, but the Kamikaze Punk has lost armor and balloon once again. Those lumberjacks and Mercuries from the Imagine doing its work on the Kamikaze Punk. Kamikaze Punk Slowly going down here. Imagine is going to go in for a ram, throw off the arc of the Kamikaze Punk at least just a little bit, or try to, but now it's actually kind of exposed
Yeah, there was
his
like a
side to the Kamikaze Punk, and the
hit
Kamikaze
on the
Punk
map.
taking up so much damage here, and this might just end it, and there you go. Oh my god, that actually just worked out amazingly well there for CakeWatch as they got the side guns onto the Kamikaze Punk after that ram, got the Gatling going, and those final shots coming in. I'm not sure if that was from the Urz or if that was from the Artemis. That was a fantastic job there by the Imagine. But we'll see how that goes as Parent Rumble is getting loaded on up here. Lots of debris in this map, as I've said before. Lots of stuff to bang on into, take a lot of damage from, stop all sorts of momentums, and so on and so forth. But let's get a quick rundown of ships here on the Sacrilege team, the Yield Rubbish, captained by Dropo. We've got Hades Artemis side with an Artemis front and a Gat mortar on the other side. And on the Anne Frank, we've got Communist Pony captaining his junker. It's also got a Hades Artemis side with Artemis front and Gat mortar on the other side. So go on the Mandarin build.
And on the Imagine, we have a Hades Artemis Pyramidion with the left side Gatling mortar, and his ally the Urz with the left side Hades heavy flak lumberjack, right side heavy carronade Hwacha with a rear flare gun.
All right, so Imagine did switch to that Hades Artemis at the end. Theirs makes a little bit more sense now that they've got not double Gat mortar, and it definitely makes sense that they'll be able to actually return that somewhat longer range fire that probably will be necessary as these two teams get set up on their sides of the map to kind of circling around currently, but Yield Rubbish and the N-Prank had been spotted.
Yeah, basically the two the two workflows for, as my game freezes for a moment there, two workflows for how you want to set up your side guns on the Pyramidion. One, you need to set up guns that your whole engineer is able to fire off very quickly during one of their like hull cooldowns. So usually utility weapons like the flare gun, sometimes a light carronade to get some quick balloon shots in as somebody passes by, that sort of thing. Or weapons that you would use in a situation where you actually have several seconds to set up. So that's why we see a lot of long-range weapons on the left side of Gat Mortar Pyramidions, because in that situation where you're setting up somewhere, you actually have some time for your gunners in the front to transition to the side of the ship, which is why guns where you need like a quick draw Gat Mortar on the left side don't work as well, because you need to give your gunners time to move to the, move to those guns.
We're getting into some firings here as the Anne Frank has lost a balloon as the Lumberjack has been connecting. A couple of them now connecting on the Yield Rubbish as well, losing his balloon. Balloon popping is going to be a lot more effective on this map if either the Yield Rubbish or the Anne Frank gets into over one of these buildings and gets his balloon popped. That Lumberjack can be extremely effective.
It's gonna be a lot a lot more effective against double junkers as well, with those big juicy balloons.
Absolutely. They've got to be, Sacrilege will have to be careful with what they're flying over. I've all too often seen somebody take a junker or some other big balloon ship like it and just get over a building, and the lumberjack shot comes in, pops balloon, starts bouncing up on top of the buildings, can't really go anywhere, and the lumberjack shots will then just continue raining on it as you're basically immobile. It's really gets so much easier to hit a target with the lumberjack when they're not moving.
Oh, the best is when it's against like a Pyramidion or something with carronades, and they actually go in for the ram while your balloon is out and you're on top of a building and you're just taking impact damage from all directions.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Yield Rubbish sticking his nose out here for just a second, and now we'll have to retreat as the combined fire between the Imagine and the Urz Forces him to pull back. Imagine going around a little bit here and going way forward. Uh-oh, this not really what you want to be doing here, Imagine. Please pull back. I don't make me look bad, Imagine. Don't make me look bad. There we go.
I
Pulling
couldn't
back out now.
imagine him making you look bad. Imagine. But I'm thinking
I'm
Blue
gonna move on from
Pyramidian.
that joke.
I'm thinking the Blue Pyramidian was just looking. He's looking for spots. They need the spots here. There's so many clouds. If they want to put on
Yeah,
any sort of consistent fire onto Sacrilege.
I just wanted him to definitely not continue going past that building because those two junkers could have turned on that Pyramidion very, very quickly. Pyramidions, of course, will have some trouble turning and reversing. Once you get a Pyramidion moving in a direction, it gets a little bit difficult to stop it.
You know, we've been
All
seeing
right.
that a lot during this set from CakeWatch, is this Pyramidion kind of poking forward, but they don't have a flare gun, so it's going to be, I keep saying, oh, they're looking for spots, but it's going to be difficult to actually get a spot without, having that utility flare on the side, so, which is something we see pretty commonly on the side of the Pyramidion.
Yeah, although flare guns on this map is going to be somewhat less effective as it is, just from the fact that these clouds move a lot. So if you flare something, the next set of clouds can move on in, or lanes like this basically right now can open up. All the clouds basically have moved away. The Anne Frank and the Yield Rubbish trying to move back into a little bit more cover here, as they Imagine had to come around. And Urz keeping the spots up on these two red ships, but now they Imagine hitting this building and continually hitting this building with shots, and I don't think they know it. I don't think they know that this building crop is right here. And once again, hitting more buildings, so it's a little bit of a, I don't know, it's okay, there we go. Sorry. Uh, what was I gonna say? Okay, Urs, I lost my train of thought. You go ahead and talk now because I got no idea what I was trying to say.
Well, one thing we're noticing is the Hades accuracy from the Junkers is pretty high here. That the large stature, the large profile of the galleon just makes such a perfect target for those long range shots. It's so much easier to hit than say a Junker or even a Mobula. So the Urz has to be very careful about their positioning. They need to stay close to terrain so that they are able to duck behind it if they start taking too much damage, if their whole armor goes down, because again, the galleon's so large, it will be very easy for those two junkers on the red team to just land a quick succession of shots, take down the armor, and suddenly they're very vulnerable.
Very
Now they
much so.
Imagine kind of poking forward, taking some hits back and back out.
Yep, both the Yield Rubbish and Anne Frank had moved forward. Now Urz repeating his firing, but both of these red junkers are going to be able to move right on past. That looks like a balloon is on fire on the Anne Frank. That should get put out in just a matter of moments. Now the Imagine is still hanging around here and is getting caught out in the open. But without a spot on the Imagine, it's gonna be hard to continually hit with those. Uh-oh, careful, Imagine. Oh, there's a lot of stuff down there. Going down is gonna be very precarious. Gets right on that crane, so good piloting there, avoiding the bridge, getting under that crane, being able to back on up here and not taking really any bad bounces, which can absolutely wreck the day of a ship. You bounce into that crane, all of a sudden, all your momentum stopped, and those shots still flying on and continue to destroy your hull. Often ends in a kill.
Yeah. It looks like Sacrilege not too keen on pursuing at any point. They're totally content to just sort of sit back, utilize their six left side sniper weapons, and keep poking back and forth. They have the superior cover, which we see them making heavy usage of here. As they're that's one of the advantages of the Junkers. You can fire while you're sidling back and forth, because the ship's A, very maneuverable, and B, the guns are on the sides, so they can, you know, move forward. Now they're going to pop out on the other side of the terrain, take some shots, reverse, and rinse and repeat.
Absolutely. Urz doing a bit of work, getting some few lumberjack shots here and there, knocking out some balloons, but uh, Yield Rubbish and Anne Frank not in really any uh, bad positions there to take much damage from just the balloon being popped. However, CakeWatch definitely charging on fourth here, and boy, are they coming on up as the Urz is just booking it over here, getting around this building, gonna start shooting on off here. Imagine is already in position here and hasn't taken too much damage, and Anne Frank and Yield Rubbish getting a little bit of blitzed here. We'll see how well they respond, but the Urz is now just exposed his broadside to both these Pyramidions. Imagine has lost both his front guns, is gonna have to repair those before any sustained fire can take place, and Urz is actually taking a lot of damage here. Permanent hull damage coming on in. Armor still down, still taking permanent damage. Armor still down. There it goes, finally back up, and so much stuff is on fire. Imagine gonna try to maybe block some shots here. Does manage to do so. Yield Rubbish loses his balloon and armor, and it's gonna bounce maybe down into this building. This is what I was talking about. It's what we've got to be really careful with, and slams down into that ground. Taking less damage than I thought. Urz almost got taken out in the meantime there. Imagine taking a lot of hits currently. Yield Rubbish rising back on out of here. Urz is all sorts of disabled in many different components, but still alive, barely hanging on by a thread. And Frank now loses his balloon and starts drifting on downwards, but Urz, oh, still taking those Hades shots, knocking that armor out piece by piece, little by little, and if it goes down, it basically will spell the end for that galleon, and trying to duck behind this building, but not able to do so. I think he actually bounced into the building and gets taken down by the Yield Rubbish. Now Imagine is just out here by himself. The Anne Frank did lose a lot of altitude from getting his balloon knocked out, but still in a very good lane and continue firing at the Imagine. Imagine's gonna have to probably book it back again. See where the Urz spawns. Urz spawns not too far away, and Imagine avoiding a lot of these shots, or rather a lot of the shots missing, but with no spots it will be a little bit harder to hit. I have a feeling that these red junkers are going to be approaching everything with very much trepidation here, as they know that the galleon has spawned by now, but the Yield Rubbish is going to charge on fourth. And you remember, the Yield Rubbish and the Anne Frank do have that brawling side, and they are trying to turn that around. And Matt's got to be extremely careful, as he's actually stuck against a building here, and that Gat mortar comes raining in from the Yield Rubbish. Armor going down immediately, and mortar shots following on up, and Imagine will get taken down right here, and that is a 2-0 lead for Sacrilege team. Extremely good piloting there, taking advantage of the situation. Imagine got stuck trying to back into a building, and that was about it.
Yeah, interesting. The galleon's position here is a little odd. Sort of in this little cradle of building. I guess he's just waiting for his ally to respawn. But yeah, fire already going down, and now the Urz needs to get those guns into commission very quickly.
Yep, Imagine rising on up here, and we're gonna get a full-on battle going on, as Imagine taking the initial set of fire, but Yield Rubbish has getting his balloon knocked out. Flax go flying wildly past him. Hades coming in, connecting with a lot of that, but Yield Rubbish manages to scoot on out of the side as the Anne Frank continues to take some of those shots from Imagine, but going to scoot around the side of this building. They will escape mostly unharmed out of here. Both sides taking some shots for sure, but Urz has got to be a little bit careful here. Is right up against the building, and does not want to continue backing on up, and we'll have to kind of move on out of here. It's going to be very immobile if he tries to continue being here. And is he stuck? Are you stuck here, Urz?
No, no.
Okay. All right, there you go. You can finally getting your fat behind out from the cracks of that building. As the Imagine is continuing to draw the fire of the Sacrilege team, but Urz now back in position to just get absolutely hammered by these two junkers right now, and probably regretting that decision a little bit. Does get lumberjack shots off onto the yield rubbish, dropping his balloon, but yield rubbish thankfully has a fair amount of distance to fall here, and probably will be able to rise on back up without too much trouble. But it's definitely gets to be a little bit heart-wrenching when you lose balloon here and you're still thinking, oh my god, what's actually below me? I don't quite know. All right, here we go. Urz taking damage once again from the Anne Frank and yield rubbish. Imagine's moving on around, trying to get some sort of firing arc onto the Anne Frank. Anne Frank losing balloon. No spots down on the Sacrilege team, however, so this is going to be a
Imagine
little
taking
bit
up
hard to
a
sustain this fire.
Imagine taking up a very aggressive position here.
Yep, should be spotting yield rubbish there. Yep, there you go. And Frank down very low currently. Of course, lost his balloon. And now both these teams are just kind of firing into the remains of this building for a little bit there as the yield rubbish moving back on around, losing balloon once again. Imagine trying to follow that fire, but a lot of those Hades shots just gotta lead it a little bit more than that, guys. Gotta lead
Oh man,
your
they have
shots
a
a
good
little bit more than
opportunity
that.
to switch fire to the Anne Frank as the yelled rubbish takes cover. But the Anne Frank
Those
continuing to use this building to zone out the fire of the blue galleon.
Yep, and Imagine has a backup as well as do not want to get caught onto the top of that structure. The Anne Frank continues to take a lot of damage here from the Urz, and down he goes into the ground, followed by a flak shot, and down goes the Anne Frank. That was just a wild succession of hits right there, but now Imagine's got his back turned to the yield rubbish, and that's never where you want to be with a Pyramidion, with your back turned to any ship.
Yeah, but he does have the Urz backing him up now, so relative safety.
Absolutely, yield rubbish. Moving on back and forth in this cover now. And Frank has come up on the side here and does get a spot on both of these ships. Sacrilege a little bit split up, but that might actually work to their advantage here, as now they're focusing on the Imagine. And yield rubbish losing his balloon. Urz managing to connect with those lumberjack shots continually, so that will help out the Imagine a little bit there, avoid that dual fire of these two Sacrilege ships. And Frank now moving on back, avoiding that Hwacha fire, trying to maneuver through these buildings. Gets a little bit hairy to do so, takes a carronade shot there, and barely bit
Or
of a
like takes
bounce,
a
losing his...
takes a carronade pellet.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, don't want to take too much of those on a junker. That can get extremely...
Yield rubbish
It can go
repositioning.
really bad for you if you start taking those.
Repositioning behind the blue team.
Uh-oh. Here come the heavy carronade shots onto the Anne Frank. Doing some damage to that balloon. And watch a shot coming on in, but doesn't really get too much done with it. And now ye old rubbish is taking some damage from the other side. So that galleon is currently making use of basically every single gun that it has, firing onto the Anne Frank with that Hwacha and carronade from one side, and using that lumberjack to go after the yield rubbish on the other side. Of course, now yield rubbish is out of that arc, so now it's just up to Imagine to follow the yield rubbish around, and we're getting into kind of what we saw last game, where eventually it devolved into this sets of 1v1s, but the yield rubbish will probably win over that, just because they have that short side as well. So Imagine's got to be careful here as he wants to avoid that Gatling fire. Yield Rubbish has lost his balloon. Urz, fairly low armor here, still fighting it out with the Frank, trying to turn his long-range side around now to get some of those shots back onto the Frank. Frank making full use of this time to deal as much damage to that ship as they can, but can't get the hull down. They have knocked out an engine and a couple of guns. See what guns are currently out on that ship. It was just the Carney that actually had got knocked out, so no big deal there. Now the Anne Frank and the Urz exchanging a lot of fire here, and Anne Frank's gonna duck back out of the way. The Yield Rubbish and Imagine are still going at it on the other side of the map here. Alright, Yield Rubbish skirting around these buildings. Imagine still laying that fire down. I'm not seeing any return fire from Yield Rubbish at all.
Yeah, looks like Yield Rubbish having a little bit of issue in this kind of this alley fight, just finding good angles for those guns. Though we do see a few shots coming off there. But the Imagine is going to have a much easier time keeping their guns in the arc because they're all pointed straight forward.
Absolutely, they're definitely difficult to turn your sides anywhere around here as a junker. If
I
you
wonder.
if you turn your side, you're kind of just stuck in the middle and just asking to be rammed into something.
I mean, the Yield Rubbish does have the opportunity in this sort of a fight. If they change their momentum back towards the Imagine, they could try to get into a real close range with their Gap mortar side. And that could potentially, give them a pretty strong advantage against the Imagine, but they're choosing instead to continue to kite.
They're gonna bump into this building over here. And if
Wait.
the Imagine actually goes for a ram right now, this is going to be catastrophic for this junker. Oh, but they do manage to stick on around. As Urz is actually coming around in the meantime as well, and Yield Rubbish is getting absolutely hammered by everything right now. And Frank trying to move back in position to assist, but is quite a far way away. Really no firing lanes whatsoever, just hitting buildings. There goes that watch of fire, and down goes the Yield Rubbish, and we get a 2-2 tie here in this match as the Yield Rubbish just got caught by the Imagine and the Urz teaming up. The Anne Frank was way across on the other side of the map, and Urz just decided, you know what? You can have fun over there, Anne Frank. I'm gonna go help Imagine over here.
Just a real missed opportunity for Sacrilege there that I really do think the Gap Mortar Junker would have had a strong advantage in that fight, but I don't know.
All right, Imagine moving on fourth. Where does the Yield Rubbish spawn? These two junkers will probably be able to meet back up here. But Yield Rubbish now focusing onto the Urz. We'll see if Imagine will turn back onto the Yield Rubbish as that junker moves right past that giant Muse sign on this map. One of the little Easter eggs. As now the Imagine is taking fire from the Yield Rubbish. Yield Rubbish lost a lot of its balloon already. Imagine losing his front guns, and that kind of spells the end for what a Pyramid can really accomplish when he loses his front guns. Alright, oh my god, Imagine taking a large swab of damage right there as the combination of fire between the Anne Frank and the Yield Rubbish. Holy moly, that was just absolute brutality. Such quick death there. Succession of fire going down, hitting every single shot, and if that happens, if you get that double Artemis, or actually quad Artemis in this case, from these combined of these two ships with double Hades hitting every shot, no ship can withstand that. That is a quick kill, and we got that key third kill here for Sacrilege, which means if we do go in overtime, there cannot be a tie. Well, unless the other team ties it up, but we won't get a tie. We will get overtime, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
How much time do we have left?
Imagine being very aggressive with that forward positioning and finally getting punished for it there. We have 6 minutes. 6 minutes left in this match until we go to overtime.
All right. Yield rubbish. Let's see. Urz looks like he's trying to move into. Yep. Getting some fire onto the yield rubbish. Getting that lumber down. Getting that balloon popped. Sacrilege play a little bit defensively now. They know they have that third kill. All important third kill. Yield rubbish still going down here. Moving back through. Yeah, and trying to escape as much of this fire as possible. Trying to move around these buildings. And Frank returning some fire. Looks like they are mostly going after Imagine, which is still probably what you want to do in general. If you got shots on him, that ship will go down faster than a galleon. As Imagine takes... Is that a bounce off the building, or did he just go up? Quite catch that. Not too sure, but let's see. Imagine now charging on fourth. CakeWatch knows they have to tie this up, or at least try to get at least one more kill here. So if nothing else, they will be on equal grounding if this does happen to go in overtime. But, you know, of course, if they take these two ships down, they just win the game outright, and that's definitely what you want to do. Imagine now backing on up a little bit, gonna take a longer approach here. A lot of fire going back and forth. It's hard to kind of tell how much is actually connecting here.
I mean, we're not
As
seeing
the
any
two junkers are doing good.
not seeing any significant damage to the whole of a nice lumberjack shot onto the end Frank's balloon, but mostly just kind of sporadic component damage, fires being set. But yeah, CakeWatch is going to have to push the issue here as we go into 4 minutes remaining, and you know they have to make something happen. Sacrilege currently has the lead.
Absolutely, and this was the opposite setup basically from last game when Sacrilege was down 3-2 and they had to push out. Now we saw CakeWatch do this earlier this match where they basically just pounded down the yield rubbish, but I'm not sure if they'll be able to get such a favorable position once more. But we do know that they have it in them. We'll see if they can do so now. This dual fire from the yield rubbish and the Anne Frank going onto the Urz now. A few of those actually connecting, but return fire taking out the Anne Frank's balloon. And Anne Frank actually has forward motion, and if his balloon keeps on going down here, had a chance to drop into that bridge. Fortunately, that won't happen for him because that bridge is all sorts of death. Those giant spikes can get ships caught on it quite a lot. It looks like the Anne Frank was moving forward to try to maybe get some nice fire onto the Imagine, but at least at the very worst, he does lose his spot and will not continue to take fire. Real yield rubbish in the meantime, flying up high, spotted, taking shots from the Urz and the Imagine, but not really actually much of it connecting.
And we have the blue galleon now with some aggressive positioning. He's moving forward, trying to find a better angle. Because they're against the clock. They need to get some good just a nice sequence of sniper fire. He's
And moves all the way around, and yield rubbish is just gone. Just moved back the other way. And it takes, you know, a long time for that galleon to reposition anywhere. So if he wants to turn his engines now and just back up, it would take forever. So he's just going to continue charging on fourth and seeing if he can come around the side here. But this leaves Imagine out in the open against the double fire of these junkers, and will have to do something to try to lose a spot, or at least get into a little bit of cover here. His armor is down and trying to hydro around, but continues to take some of that damage. Balloon now down. Balloon like down on this map is extremely dangerous.
Looks like the Urz is about to engage. He's potentially got the jump on Sacrilege, and he's coming up behind him, and it looks like he's going to be using that. Is he going for a ram?
Might just be, and is going to get it. Gets a, oh my god, just bumping against that Yield Rubbish using that Watcher to knock out all sorts of components. Basically, almost every single gun is down on that Yield Rubbish. It's very good for it because didn't really do a whole lot of damage, and now is taking a lot in return from the end Frank, and maybe didn't end up being so good for the Yield Rubbish, or for the Urz, as the Yield Rubbish is now shooting that Gatling onto the Urz, and if shots come on in, the Urz could go down right here, but no follow-up shots. I think that Gatling was still down there, and I imagine it's going to try to follow up onto the Yield Rubbish, taking maybe Balloon trying to take the Balloon down once more. It is on fire, so it might happen. Urz kept on going in the meantime, getting caught by Anne Frank here once again, so nice try there by the Urz, just didn't end up working out too well, as now the Yield Rubbish is backing on up as the Imagine has come on fourth. Urz taking fire from the Anne Frank. That Hades Artemis shots connecting full on into the broadside of that galleon, continually doing damage, and nothing really too much coming in return. Now Urz trying to back on out. Maybe they will try to go onto the Yield Rubbish, but Urz bumps into the side of this building, loses all momentum, and maybe that's actually for the better, as if he sticks out here, the Yield Rubbish might come around the side, but no, not quite, as the Yield Rubbish stopped his momentum as well now, and Frank going to turn around, get on into this fight as well, or maybe not. Maybe it's just gonna stay down low, way down low.
Oh, looks
The
like
old
Anne
Rubbish.
Frank is kind of bumping up against the buildings a little bit as he tries to get back into this fight.
Yield Rubbish in the meantime, taking permanent damage there finally, and is going dangerously close to death here, as Balloon is still on fire. If that Balloon goes down once more, as it does, this is going to be very problematic here. It could end up for a kill here for CakeWatch, and if the Imagine had just maybe tried to follow on down, it could have done a little bit of
Oh
ramming
man,
shenanigans.
we've got kind of a seesaw situation going on here as yeah, as the Yield Rubbish's balloon gets knocked out, Anne Frank comes up at just that moment. Now the Anne Frank is by themselves. Um, this might be a cyclical situation here if they get their balloon knocked out as well, as it does go down.
And it does, and he's gonna bump into this building, so takes a little bit of damage there. Yield Rubbish coming on up and trying to follow this shots up with that carronade, but remember, it's the hull that matters, right? Not the
It's only the
balloon.
hole.
Right, so popping Balloon is really not going to do just too much by itself, but the Anne Frank continually taking that damage. Balloon down once more, and we're getting these shots connecting with the Anne Frank. Still armor still up, and Balloon still up. Will it go down? Nope, armor will not go down either. Oh, Balloon is down now. Armor is down, and the Anne Frank is dragging along on this bridge. And oh my god, they barely managed to squeak through the tiniest of holes. Oh, moly, that is just barely getting on out of there. But the Yield Rubbish has come up into the side of the Imagine in the meantime, and they are using that gap mortar, but the Imagine is trying to follow the Anne Frank, trying to finish off this third kill to get it to a tie game here. Anne Frank losing his balloon once again. All of its components are basically still dead. At least every single engine is getting his armor or balloon back up there. Imagine had to fly up high as that Yield Rubbish was falling behind. Now Urz trying to catch the Yield Rubbish here. Looks like they're going for a little bit of that longer side, but well within arming range, so it's not going to be very useful. But Yield Rubbish out here by himself now with the Anne Frank still way down low, barely just managing to get his armor and engines back up, and the Yield Rubbish goes down. We have a tie game, and the Anne Frank has lost his balloon once again as he's stuck into the building here. Oh my god, if the blue team can recognize what's going on here, the Imagine can come around on the side right here. Just go down, just around, and poke your nose right into the Anne Frank. The Anne Frank cannot go anywhere. The Anne Frank is stuck down here right now. Maybe just might be able to get on up here, but if he does, he could go straight into the line of fire of the Imagine. The Imagine has got to see him. Got to see him. Got to see him. Got it. You got. What? Where are you going? Where? Oh, look, the yield rubbish has come back into the fight. All right, that'll do it. Imagine now trying to turn around as the Urz taking that Grenade, or sorry, Gatling fire from the yield rubbish, and Urz is not going to be able to survive this. And Frank rising back on up here as well. And if dual fire comes onto the Urz, that could spell a lot of problems for the Urz. And dual Gatling fire going onto the Urz, and the Urz will get taken down by the end. Frank coming on up. It looks like yield rubbish now getting focused here by Imagine and Frank flying high. So Sacrilege taking back a grasp of this game, and Frank now turning his Gatling into the Pyramidion. Yield rubbish still being followed by Imagine, but that art at Hades isn't going to do a whole lot close at this point. Yield rubbish just trying to maneuver around. Imagine looks like he's gonna try to go in for a little bit of ram. Will he get it? Yes, he does, but doesn't do too much. In fact, Imagine's gonna actually, from this, bounce into this building. Maybe can take a little bit of a tactical ram there. There you go. Gets himself turned definitely quicker here. And Frank using that Gatling there down on the Imagine. Imagine's armor is down there. Will it go down? Not quite yet. Oh, barely, man. No, they get taken down in a ridiculously close finish. Fought to the bitter end there as Sacrilege takes this in overtime. This time around, 5-3, and what a crazy, crazy finish.
Yeah, and they will be moving into a third game in this set, which will be on Duel at Dawn, another one of those maps that can really go either way in terms of engaged distances.
All right, we're getting a little bit of in chat. I swear on behalf of Gents that we'll brutally murder the winner of this bracket quickly on behalf of my sleep cycle. Or at least let them brutally murder us quickly. All right, I'll hold you to that. I will hold you to that. All right, let's get a quick rundown of ships here on the yield rubbish. We've once again got Tropo's ship of a Hades Artemis side, Artemis front, Gatling mortar on the other side, and mirror ship of the Anne Frank, Hades Artemis side, Artemis front, Gatling mortar on the other side. That is, of course, Communist Pony's ship. And what's on the other side?
We have the Imagine Hades Artemis Pyramidion with the left side Carronade mortar, and his ally, the Urz. With the left side Hades Heavy Flak Lumberjack, right side Heavy Carronade Huacha with a rear flare gun.
All right, so getting ready for pretty much the exact same type of battle here, but the yield rubbish and the Anne Frank are actually charging right on fourth here. Getting right up into the faces of the
They heard our prayers.
CakeWatch team.
Hallelujah.
And they are not kidding around here. They are getting right up close and personal in their face business.
Oh, and they have great arcs with those Hades Artemis on the Junker.
Yeah, right now the blue team is going to be on a back foot. It's going to be very much up to the Urz here to maybe pop some balloons, and has done so. Get the Anne Frank out of that arc at least, and Anne Frank taking lots of damage here already. Armor about to go down as it's still on fire. Will he be able to repair it? No, they are not. Can any permanent damage get done? Not quite yet, but yield rubbish losing his balloon as well, and Urz has responded greatly to this aggressive move here by the red team, knocking out some balloons, getting those high arcs out, and Imagine in the meantime is struggling a little bit, bumping into his ally there as Urz blocks some shots. But Anne Frank, balloon down once again, bouncing around into this wreckage over here, and lots of damage coming on fourth as Urz trying to keep the Anne Frank bouncing on this piece of wreckage. Balloon down once again, and that kerosene is on for, I'm not entirely sure to why, maybe trying to get off the wreckage, but are they able to? Oh, down goes the Anne Frank for the first kill as the yield rubbish is too high to assist. So great set of shots there by the blue team, swatting away this very straightforward move here by Sacrilege, getting balloons knocked down, and that, as I said, was going to be extremely effective on this map. Still a lot of wreckage to be bouncing around on, and if you can get balloons popped, down you will go into them. And if you get it down, the key point there was not only getting the balloon down, but then keeping it down afterwards.
Oh yeah, and if you're Sacrilege in this game and you're facing down a galleon with a lumberjack, you always need to be very conscious of what is below you, because at any point your balloon can be knocked out, and I mean you could get a pretty quick death as you saw there. Um, Dan Frank unfortunately being above the rusty ship and just bouncing along.
Yep, tried to get on off that, was not able to do so thanks to some nifty shooting by the Urz there. Urz had his armor taken down a fair amount here. Had basically all of the side guns taken out there too, but they do manage to repair on up before any catastrophic damage comes raining on in. Now Imagine is moving around on the side here, trying to catch the yield rubbish, but does have to be careful because if the combination of these two junkers turns onto that Pyramidion, it could be absolutely horrible. As we see, Imagine, you got to be careful, don't run into that rib right there, that would stop your momentum. And there we go, rising back up on out of there. The side guns have been taken out, and now front gun has been taken out. So Imagine taking large amount of fire here, getting all sorts of guns knocked out, so they can't fire back. But thankfully, no real big damage to hull armor or anything of that sort. Now Yield Rubbish starting to lose his balloon, and down it goes, and does have a long way to fall, so probably uh, won't have too hard of a time to get that repaired on up before it goes
Yeah,
back down.
luckily for Imagine, he did manage to shake that spot. So you saw a sequence of about 12 to 15 Hades shots just barely miss, because of the blind firing. Yeah, now we looks like we have the teams set up across the map in their respective ribs. CakeWatch with a little bit forward positioning. But I mean, this is what we often see here on Duel with Dawn.
That
Each
is
team will claim one of these ribs as their own.
that was probably the wildest firing I've ever seen from any ship. They're just kind of shooting up uh, nowhere, no spots. They're just let's see if anything's up over here. Anyway, Urz now shooting off over at the Anne Frank. Anne Frank's got to be careful, can't continue backing on up here. There is a rib that he will bump into, but Imagine coming on forth here. In the meantime, Yield Rubbish gets his balloon knocked out by the Urz. The Urz continuing that fire onto anything it can hit, but those Hades shots just go raining past. Giant balls of fire exploding in the sky, not actually connecting with anything. Imagine in the meantime has dropped down a little bit lower to avoid continual fire as well. Probably, I think, backed up some as well. It was a bit more forward the last time I saw him.
Oh yeah, I mean the lumberjack. Like the thing about the lumberjack is it has a very long range. It puts out a lot of damage, but it's almost contrary to the rest of your weapons because every time you knock out the target's balloon, they're going to drop down, and it's going to be more difficult for your gunners to keep those shots on because the target keeps dropping in altitude. So that's why we see, like, okay, the balloon goes out, and then 12 Hades shots fly over their head because the gunner was not able to adjust for the altitude fast enough. So it's like, it's sort of a weird weapon that doesn't necessarily mesh well with the other weapons on the ship, with the heavy flak, with the Hades, which require as much accuracy.
Absolutely. All right, Urz took a little bit of a beating there, almost got his armor knocked out, but just managed to get it back up. Once again, those side guns were all out, but they are all back up now, so we get nice little break once again as these two ships just lining up in a very, pre-World War II, just line up on your side. I take shots, you take shots, I take shots, you take shots. Not a whole lot of movement or troops running on around. And Frank does get his balloon knocked out once again. And those follow-up shots, because of that, will, as you said, mostly go wild. Heavy flak shots raining across the sky, streaking into the midst of the night past these giant pieces of wreckage.
Would you, I mean, would you classify this as night? I mean, this is sort of like late afternoon, sunset kind of going on.
It's dawn.
Oh, you know, you're right. Duel at, Duel at Dawn, yes. Yes, the hint was in the name of the map.
I would classify this as dawn.
Oh boy.
Hold on a
Um,
second.
so we do have the yield what rubbish now. Kind of backing out of the ribs here. No spots going down, so CakeWatch is not necessarily aware of where the sacrilege, uh,
Ooh.
where the sacrilege ships are positioned. Although now they know with the cloud moving out of the way. As the galleon moves to get those guns back into arc.
Oh man, every now and then, I just something happens and I lose it, and that's one of those times. All right, so back into this game, Sacrilege moving out of these ribs as the Cakewatch team has come forth. Uh, Very much skirting around the back of the ribs. Now they do have to be careful because they can't really go back any more than that. You'll start pushing against the edge of the map quite horribly. Yield rubbish. Moving back around here, but it's going to be hard to really get any shots off, any accurate shots off, as both these teams have lost all sorts of spots.
Yield rubbish moving out. Looks like he wants to get that visibility again, but now he's in a very vulnerable position. He's facing the galleon by himself as the lumberjack shots are going to rain in. Yep, taking out the balloon and
Yep, yield rubbish. Starting to fall down into the ground, but it was very, very, very up high, so we'll have a long way to fall. But armor is down, and will the yield rubbish be the casualty here? Yes, he is. That is a 2-0 lead here for Cakewatch team, and they can really follow this up here. They can push their advantage, but they do have to be careful because if they wouldn't be able to take out the Anne Frank in a timely fashion, the other red junker can respawn basically right on top of them and can flank them. Well, let's see, field rubbish spawning around the back of the ribs, and that's what I was talking about. If they had pushed onto the Anne Frank there, it's quite possible that they would have been caught in between these two junkers, and we've seen the Mandarins switch to that short side and absolutely destroy a ship
well,
with that double gap mortar.
there's one spawn point in particular, kind of behind where the Anne Frank was, in between the what sizes? In between the North Ribs and the Leviathan, kind of right here. I'm showing it on the camera now. But if they had decided to chase the Anne Frank down, this would have been a prime spot for the old rubbish to respawn in and get a nice engagement with the Gap mortars.
All right, Urz taking a majority of that fire currently into its broadside, knocking out those two side guns, the ones that are very, very important to that ship. They get their lumberjack back up, and I know how that repair goes. I've flown on Zeal's galleon several times, and it's always get that lumberjack back up all the time. Number one important thing. Urz continually taking a lot of fire here, even though he's down low and lost spot, but Galleon, you kind of know where a Galleon's going, even if you can't spot him. And with a lot of these opponents smoking, you can really see that through clouds as well.
Well, it's sort of like if you're playing darts, and your goal is only to hit the dartboard and your eyes are closed. The bigger the dartboard is, the higher chance you're going to hit it. As this really, really dumb analogy I've just made, but it's kind of true. The Galleon's going to be one of the easiest ships to blind fire against, just because it's so much larger, so you have more variance in the accuracy of your shots.
I've aptly named my Galleon Barn because, like,
It's
the
hitting the
broadside
side
of
of
a
the
barn.
barn. Yeah.
Yeah. Surprised more people haven't named that sort of stuff. All right, Anne Frank losing his balloon there. Imagine approached here basically all the way from the other side of the map, taking repeated fire, but a lot of misses still. And Frank, it's got to be a little careful here. Does not want to lose balloon once again. It's about as low as you can get on this map, and is well hidden behind this rib now. So the attention then turns on to Ye Olde Rubbish, who's currently firing down at the Urz, doing a fantastic job of positioning himself around, getting nice shots onto the Urz, and moving right back to behind this rib in a very essentially textbook type of move. All right, let's see. Urz firing upon Ye Olde Rubbish, but both of these junkers well hidden behind these ribs, and Urz now out in the open. However, this is something that I said last match. It'll be hard to take that galleon down under just the fire of one ship, so you really need both of these junkers out here if you want to take that galleon down. As you can see, the Anne Frank loses balloon and has to duck out of the way again, as he lost his armor as well, and does not want to take a heavy flak shot into the side there. It's hard to hit with the heavy flak, but if you do manage to pull it off and that armor is down, it's just absolute carnage.
It's like a horn drill or a what's the other one? Fissure, sheer cold. Any of those doing anything for you? Imagine.
I have no idea what in the world you're talking about.
Don't you play Pokemon?
Yeah.
The one-hit kill moves with like 10% accuracy. So basically,
Oh, okay,
if you get the timing on that heavy flak shot, you can instantly kill a ship. But if you don't, it more or less whiffs and does nothing.
Yeah,
Much like a horn
that's
drill.
pretty much how it goes. All right. And Frank and Ye Olde Rubbish now moving around, following these clouds, and hopefully now we'll see if they try to go all the way around on the edge of this map. It gets very, very tricky to go around the right side ribs all the way around there. We've seen several ships getting just banging across there and getting stuck. And Frank does get spotted as a flare had gotten thrown in there, and but unfortunately for the Sacrilege team, the CakeWatch team had moving around and won't get a bunch of free shots off onto the Anne Frank, but Anne Frank gonna circle around as well. Imagine now backing up to meet the Anne Frank as the Urz continues to scoot around on the side of the ribs, trying to get vision into the middle in case Sacrilege continues to hide around there. But Sacrilege, wise to this decision, has moved around themselves and positioned themselves once again into a defensible area around the sides of these ribs now. But Anne Frank taking more shots from the Urz, and Imagine now gonna move back on into the middle here, get themselves on repaired up as the Ye Olde Rubbish and the Anne Frank set up once again, trying to focus down one of these ships. They can do so at extremely high rates of damage if they manage to connect, and the Urz has come just charging on in here full force. And is that long side or short
That's
side
the short
there?
range
Yes, it
side.
is. That is short
Carronade
range side.
coming in.
Yep, the Carronade coming in, knocking out that balloon, and looks like CakeWatch has had enough of these long-range shenanigans. They are just gonna charge on forth here as the Anne Frank continually getting his balloon knocked out. They managed to repair it just at the last second. I'd like to think that was a tactical repair there, doing it after the Carronade shots coming in, but too much damage coming in from the combination of these two ships, and that is 3 kills now for CakeWatch team, and they have a commanding lead in this game as Ye Olde Rubbish now getting carronated down here by the Urz with that watch the shots coming on in, all engines, almost all guns lost as well, and Frank respawns back into the fray. Imagine's got to be careful where he's backing up. He's gonna take a bounce and get his gun arcs thrown off. In the meantime, Ye Olde Rubbish escapes a Watcher barrage from Urz there as it goes all into this large piece of machine or metal over here. But Ye Olde Rubbish is stuck onto the side of this wreckage. And can they get out of here? Maybe before I get his balloon knocked down, but no. down he goes, but that Washa shot cannot connect once again, and now Anne Frank has come into the face of the Urz and is going to start using that Gatling mortar, hopefully, but Imagine has turned around, facing Anne Frank now. Gatling fire coming on into the Urz and takes a nasty bounce off this rib as the Imagine continues peppering the Anne Frank with shots. Yield Rubbish having a tough time getting back into the action here. Still every single gun knocked out as well. And the Anne Frank bouncing along on the ground. Armor is completely down. Gets it repaired. Balloon down once again. Watch shots coming. Ripping that ship to pieces. And it is just a Yield Rubbish left out here to fend for itself. But it's in quite a good position. So I'm not sure if Sacrilege pull this one back. Is just finally managing to get those guns repaired on the Yield Rubbish. We'll see where the Anne Frank spots here, but this seems to be going the CakeWatch way. They just need one more kill here.
Yeah, and just a fantastic engagement from CakeWatch. Knowing the positioning of the red ships, they force them into the corner of the map. Sacrilege has nowhere to run. They have to engage. They have to engage this galleon at close range, and they can't seem to do it in the face of this Carronade Hwacha.
Yeah, and now Yield Rubbish getting knocked down once again. All sorts of stuff disabled. Watcher shots come raining on in again. Imagine's just sitting back. Just all sorts of arcs free for it as much as they want. And Urz still taking those Carronade and Hwacha shots off into the Yield Rubbish. Does get that Carronade knocked out, so it's just a Hwacha now. But Urz is starting to take some damage here, so they do have to be a little bit careful of the repair cycles. Can't get too anxious here, but Yield Rubbish gets taken down, and CakeWatch takes out this final game 5-0. And then, after a while, they just decide, you know what, screw it, let's get on in there. And I may have caught Sacrilege a little bit off guard there. So, CakeWatch takes this matchup 2-1. Extremely hard fought on both sides. We had two very exciting over